50 spine-chilling camping stories. Terrifying secrets revealed in the haunted deep woods. The Johnson family thought they were just heading into the Appalachian woods for a classic camping trip. But little did they know, every rustle of leaves and flicker of shadows would soon unravel into a nightmare far worse than any campfire ghost story. Mark and Lisa, with their teenage son Jake and sweet little Lily, set up their tent as the sun dipped, casting long shadows among the towering trees. There was a chill in the air, but they brushed it off, embracing the escape from suburban Ohio. But the woods weren't empty. They were alive, shrouded in an unsettling silence that felt like a predator watching from the dark. As twilight seeped in, the family settled inside their tent, nestled together like an innocent escape in a well-worn thriller. They shared ghost stories, voices echoing with laughter, attempting to drown out the creeping dread that hung in the air. Unbeknownst to them, a chilling giggle, sharp and otherworldly, slithered through the cracks, entwining with their innocent banter. The first clap of thunder boomed overhead, startling them. Each peal felt like a warning, a drumroll for the horrors to come. The rain fell hard, rhythmic and heavy against the tent, each droplet a reminder of the storm outside. But the real storm was just beginning. Just after darkness fell, haunting whispers invaded their makeshift haven. At first, they tried to ignore it, a rustle of branches, a faint echo, like a child's disturbed dream. But when Jake's eyes widened and he whispered, "Did you hear that?" the question hung heavy. They exchanged nervous glances, denying their fears with half-hearted jokes, but Lisa's heart quickened, the drumming of her pulse louder than the downpour. Meanwhile, Lily was drifting into sleep, a peaceful innocence in a rising tide of terror. A scream shattered the night like glass when Mark discovered Lily gone. Panic gripped their hearts. A primal fear twisted in Mark's chest as he called her name, his voice clawing at the darkness, swallowed by the oppressive silence. The tension rattled through the woods, and the rain rendered everything slick and treacherous as they frantically searched. Lisa stumbled upon an ancient stone, aged and moss-covered, a remnant of forgotten stories. Digging through the earth like desperate animals, they unearthed a time-worn journal, its cover cracked, filled with eerie entries of a boy who had vanished long ago in these very woods. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The journal didn't just recount memories, it teemed with sinister warnings about shadowy figures that lured children into the depths of the woods. Each entry felt like a blade piercing their comfort, exposing raw fears and secrets that should have remained buried. As the storm intensified and the whispers grew louder, they realized that this trip was a cruel game, and their family bonds were woven with threads of deceit. With their daughter missing, could they trust each other? With shadows creeping closer, they felt a chilling realization wash over them. Something dark hunted them, and it knew them intimately, giving rise to a question that would linger long after the rain stopped. Were they merely here to camp, or had they walked into a trap laid by the forest itself? Mark's heart raced as he gripped the journal, the damp pages smudged by his trembling hands. "We need to find her," he urged, eyes darting frantically into the encroaching darkness, feeling the weight of unseen eyes watching. Every distant crash of thunder felt like a taunt, echoing in the haunted woods. Lisa squeezed Jake's arm, her face pale, mouth whispering, what if we leave? But where could they escape? The rain fell harder now, pounding like a drum, drowning out the world beyond their fragile fabric walls. They pressed on, shoving the journal into Mark's pocket, resolve hardening amid rising panic. They had to believe Lily could be found before dawn broke, Before the woods fully awakened to unveil its malicious depths, Jake felt the fear creep into his chest like a chill. "Maybe we split up?" he suggested, voice wavering, but the thought churned uneasily in his stomach. He remembered the ominous entries, how the lost boy had wandered, perhaps just a few feet from where they stood, lured by the very whispers now curling around them. "No!" Lisa snapped, almost instinctively. "We stay together. That's the only way." And in that moment, they all understood. Alone, they were prey, but together, they could still be a unit against the dark forces that lurked in the foliage. With a deep breath, they unzipped the tent, stepping out into the deluge. Water pooled around their feet, thick mud clinging to their shoes as they squinted through the shadows. The sounds of the forest were twisted branches crackled like brittle bones, and the wind howled with a voice that felt like it had been forged from despair. "Lily, can you hear us?" Mark called out, voice cracking with desperation, echoing in the inky blackness. Silence answered him, save for the rhythmic drumming of rain against the vast canopy above. Suddenly, a high-pitched giggle erupted somewhere to their left, a sound that made Lisa's hair stand on end. It was a childlike laugh, yet it held a sinister cadence that sent jagged shards of terror into their hearts. "Did you hear that?" Jake whispered, eyes wide, scanning the dense underbrush. "Over there." Mark pointed to the faint flicker of light amid the trees. Was it real? Was it the glow of a campfire, or some warped illusion? "Lily?" he yelled again, adrenaline surging through him. As they stumbled deeper into the woods, they were drawn toward the light. Each step felt heavier, and shadows seemed to stretch towards them like icy fingers. They moved cautiously, holding each other tight, breath shallow and quick. The branches snagged at their clothes, as if the forest was trying to keep them from moving forward. The giggle came again, a taunting echo. It weaved through the air like smoke, wrapping around them, promising hope, but inviting despair. They pressed on, the flickering light gradually illuminating a clearing ahead. They could see it now, a circle of stones arranged in a crude fashion, the glow emanating from them. Mark felt sick. This wasn't a campfire, this was something else. Something wrong. "What is this?" Lisa muttered, but the words barely left her lips before the light surged, illuminating the surroundings, and what lay ahead tore the breath from their lungs. At the center of the circle was a dark figure, hunched and hideous, shimmering in the light. It turned slowly, revealing hollow eyes and an unhinged grin that seemed to elongate unnaturally. Time felt frozen. Mark's mind screamed for him to run, yet his body wouldn't respond. Then, from behind the figure came a soft voice, pure and sweet. "Mommy." "Daddy." A rush of emotions crashed over them, hope surging in a tidal wave. But as they moved closer, the figure laughed again, and the soft voice twisted into something unrecognizable. The forest shifted, shadows danced, and they were suddenly aware of the sinister game unfolding. Before they could make sense of it, the world around them began to fade, shadows closing in like a noose. Mark reached for Lily, and the figure unleashed a spine-chilling scream, reverberating through the trees. Everything turned black. And in that darkness, a voice whispered through the void, "Welcome back to the woods." What were they meant to uncover? And more disturbingly, would they escape? The hunt had only just begun. Mark awoke with a jolt, gasping for air as he lay sprawled on cold, damp ground. Rain still dripped from the skeletal branches above, but it felt different now, more like tears than droplets. His eyes darted around. Was he alone? Panic clawed at his chest. "Lisa! Jake!" he shouted, his voice barely above a whisper, as if fear itself were waiting to answer. He struggled to rise, limbs heavy and uncooperative. However, he forced himself to stand and stumbled in the darkness, trying to catch a glimpse of his friends. The forest loomed around him like a dark, oppressive being. Mark's heart thudded painfully in his chest, each beat echoing the unspeakable dread that swirled within him. The trees loomed taller, twisting upward toward the chaotic clouds, their branches scratching at the sky like desperate fingers. "Hello?" His voice was small, choked with trepidation. No response. He strained to listen, but all he heard was the dull thudding of rain against the earth, and the faint whispers of the woods, a sound both soft and chilling. "Where are you?" He broke into a run, zigzagging between the thick trunks. The world felt warped, the trees seeming to shift and sway, closing in around him. It was as though the very forest was alive, aware of his fear, hungry for it. Mark could feel it in his bones. A scream ripped through the air, piercing the oppressive silence. It was Lisa's voice, a shriek of pure terror. It echoed through the trees, bouncing off the trunks before fading into an eerie stillness. Mark's blood ran cold. Without thinking, he sprinted in the direction of the sound, desperate to reach her. "Lily!" he yelled, though the name felt bitter on his tongue. Each step was a battle against unseen forces pulling him back, urging him to retreat into the safety of ignorance. He tore through the underbrush, thorns clawing at his legs, but he didn't care. "I'm coming! Hold on!" He pushed on, heart racing, lungs burning. Then he spotted a faint flicker in the distance. Not the same circle of stones, but a weak, wavering light that seemed to call to him. Mark hesitated, a deep-seated dread tightening within him. What if it was another trap? But the thought of Lisa's scream propelled him onward. As he stumbled closer, the light shifted, revealing a clearing. It was narrower than the last one, but in the center stood a solitary figure, cloaked in shadows that writhed like snakes. Mark's breath caught in his throat. "Mark!" The voice was barely audible, almost drowned by the relentless rain. It was Lisa, her face ghostly pale, eyes wide with unseeing terror. She knelt on the ground. Next to her was something small. Was it Jake? "Get away!" Lisa shouted, raising her arm weakly. But it was too late. The figure turned, revealing a ghastly face, skin stretched tightly over bones, grinning like a predator. It was an abomination, an entity that should not exist. Mark felt his legs buckle beneath him, the urge to flee battling against his instinct to protect. "Help us!" Lisa cried, but the voice morphed, echoing with a chorus of wails, each layering over the last, creating a cacophony that threatened to shatter his mind. In that moment, a realization struck him. This wasn't just a hunt. It was a game, a cruel, twisted game with victims destined to become part of the forest. And if he didn't act quickly, he too would succumb. He took a step back, breath hitching, searching for the strength to fight. But the darkness surged, creeping closer. He caught a glimpse of Jake, eyes wide and panicked yet unseeing, as though caught in an ethereal bind. "Mark!" Jake's voice cut through the haze. "Run! It's a trap!" But where was the exit? The woods pressed in. Shadows thickened, creating a wall that seemed to close him in. He felt himself waning, drawn to the dark like a moth to a flame. Mark turned, heart racing, and took off running. "I'm coming back!" He screamed over his shoulder, not knowing what he would face or if he could ever return. The woods howled in response as he fled, the oppressive darkness swallowing him whole. And as he raced away, the voice whispered once more, "You can't escape. You're part of this now." What new horrors lay ahead? Would he find his friends, or had the woods already claimed them? As Mark plunged deeper into the darkness, his mind raced. The forest felt alive, twisting and writhing, each tree a looming specter hungry for his despair. He could still hear Lisa's cries ringing in his ears, a siren's wail that clawed at his sanity. "I'm coming! I'm coming!" he gasped, though it felt like a lie, a fading echo of hope swallowed by the oppressive murk. The rain intensified, pounding against him like fists. Each drop seemed to sap his strength, making him feel heavier and more sluggish. Was he really just running in circles? The landscape shifted around him, branches reaching out like skeletal hands, grasping for him, dragging him back into the grasp of the dark figure. I should have turned back, he muttered, breathless. Fear was now a living thing, curling around his heart, squeezing tighter with every step. As if summoned by his dread, the whispers returned, low, mocking, taunting. You cannot escape, you are one of us now. He forced himself to look ahead, searching for any sign of an exit. His vision blurred, and the shadows seemed to come alive, dancing in the corners of his sight, whispering his name. Suddenly, a flash of light broke through the suffocating darkness. Mark halted, blinded for a moment. It flickered again, bright and demanding, a beacon in this nightmare. He stumbled towards it, heart thudding in his chest, pushing through a thicket that tore at his clothes, each step tearing him further away from the malevolent grip of the woods. The source of the light revealed itself as a dilapidated cabin enveloped in mist. Its wooden frame sagged, like a giant exhaling exhaustion, while flecks of paint peeled away, revealing darkness beneath. Caution battled with desperation. He could hide inside, or perhaps find something to fight back with. But was it another trap? Without a second thought, he lunged for the door, forcing it open with a shattering crash. The hinges howled in protest, echoing sharply in the eerie stillness. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with memories of broken lives and lost souls. An old lantern hung from the ceiling, its crystal still glimmering with the remnants of a dying flame. Mark took a step inside, ready to turn back as he sensed something shift behind him. The door creaked ominously, slamming shut with a force that sent vibrations through his bones. Shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets he couldn't understand, each message designed to tear apart his sanity. He rubbed his arms, feeling the chill brush against his skin. The floorboards creaked underfoot, like voices warning him, urging him to leave. He spotted an old iron fireplace, blackened and cold, the remains of a time long gone. There, partially hidden beneath ashes, lay something glimmering. Mark knelt, heart racing, as he brushed away the debris, revealing a rusty dagger, a twisted thing, but enough for him to defend himself. I have to find them, he murmured to the empty space, testing the weight of the dagger in his hand. But as he turned, the shadows had thickened, crawling toward him like living smoke, angry and malicious. Their whispers grew louder, scratching at his mind. You should not be here. Panic surged through him. What do you want? He shouted, backing away until he collided with the cold wall of the cabin. The shadows lunged. In a moment of sheer instinct, he clutched the dagger tightly, ready to fight. Beyond the door came a crashing sound, an unsettling thud that echoed through the night. What was out there? Could it be Lisa and Jake? Or was it something even worse, sent to drag him down into their abyss? Just as he regained some composure, a chilling howl broke the night, a sound both human and monstrous, piercing the silence with its despair. Mark's heart sank as he realized he wasn't alone anymore. What awaited him outside? Would he confront the horrors of the forest, or find his friends? Or had he unwittingly walked deeper into the very trap that promised to consume them all? The shadows coiled tighter, a vortex of darkness waiting to swallow him whole. Mark took a deep breath, heart pounding, feeling the weight of the jagged dagger in his hand. The whisper still clawed at his sanity, but he couldn't turn away from the door. He had to know what lurked outside. Another crash echoed through the cabin, this time closer, and he felt a tremor run through the floor beneath him. Each thud sent a fresh wave of panic surging up his spine. I can't stay here, a desperate whisper escaped his lips, but clarity slipped away with it. Steeling himself, Mark turned toward the door, trembling with dread and anticipation. The dagger felt both reassuring and ominous. He took a deep breath, pushing the panic aside, and flung the door open. The storm outside howled around him, rain slashing sideways, soaking him to the bone in moments. He stood at the threshold, wide-eyed and frantic, scanning the inky blackness. Then he saw it, a warped figure, just beyond the reach of the trees, its silhouette shifting unnaturally, limbs bending in ways human limbs shouldn't. The world around it twisted and curled like smoke, churning in sync with its movements. "Lisa! Jake!" he shouted, voice strained over the storm. What was that thing? Hope flickered and faded. The creature's eyes glowed, capturing the faint light, reflecting a kind of hungry madness that made Mark's skin crawl. The wind carried a low, raspy laughter that made his blood run cold. The shadows had become bolder. They whispered of vengeance, loss, and despair as he stepped further out. With each step, the dagger felt heavier, taunting him. What right did he have to confront this? The forest was alive, and it wanted him. "What do you want from me?" he thundered, anger boiling up within him. For a split second, the figure froze, its hollow gaze piercing through him, and then it lunged. Mark stumbled back, narrowly avoiding its grasp. Adrenaline surged as he ran deeper into the chaos of the storm, mind racing. The laughter escalated, mingling with painful echoes of Lisa and Jake, reverberating through the trees. He couldn't allow himself to think too much. Every turn was a trap, every shadow a potential death. "Help!" he screamed again, pushing through branches that clawed at his skin, desperate to keep moving. The forest seemed to close in, a living entity hungry to crush him. The darker it grew, the louder the whispers became, surrounding him like a storm of uncertainty. There another flicker of light. But this one was different, warmer, more inviting. Could it be a trick? He forced himself to keep running, not slowing until he reached a clearing. In the center stood an old, gnarled tree, its roots twisting grotesquely, emanating that weak glow. Was this what had beckoned him? Breathless, he approached the tree. An unnatural energy pulsed, whispering directly to him. "You are chosen. You are theirs." He knelt by the roots, trembling. Sensing something buried beneath the earth, it felt alive, beckoning him to dig it up. But just as he reached down, the howl returned, closer now, hungry and furious. The shadows lunged once more, their angry whispers becoming a cacophony. "Lose yourself, become one with us." Mark froze, heart racing, feeling the world spin around him. What was buried here? Was it a chance to save Lisa and Jake, or a final descent into madness? Just as the shadows closed in, a frantic thought surged through him. What if he became the very thing he feared most? In that moment, the heavy rain ceased, silence swallowing the chaos. Yet he could sense that something terrible was about to unfold, and that chilling howl of despair echoed once more. What would he find out if he dared to dig? Mark's fingers twitched at the damp soil, trembling with reluctance as he realized he was at a crossroads. The air thickened, suffocating him in its grip as the shadows slithered closer, hungry for his fear. The whispers grew louder, a sinister commotion vibrating through his skull. Dig, find the truth. He blinked, mind racing. Was it truly worth surrendering to the abyss? The stories he'd heard as a child surged back, warnings of what lay within the woods. Don't let it in. But here he was, teetering on a precipice, drowning in a storm of uncertainty. The keen edge of the dagger sunk deeper into his palm, grounding him, igniting a spark of defiance. A flicker of resolve pushed him to tear through the night. Agency surged through him as he pressed his fingers against the roots, feeling an odd warmth seep into his skin. He began digging. The rain poured down hard, mixing with the earth and mud. Every scoop felt like a nail puncturing through his resolve, but also a lifeline to his lost friends. The wind shrieked as if mocking his efforts, every rustle sending icy fear down his spine. Not knowing what awaited beneath, he gritted his teeth and dug deeper, exposing twisted, gnarled roots that pulsed like veins. And then contact. Something solid. He pulled a dark object free from the earth. It was an old locket, its surface scratched and tarnished but undeniably familiar. He opened it, breath catching in his throat, as an image of Lisa smiled back at him. Tears blurred his vision. "No, please, no," he whispered into the storm. The world around him twisted. The shadows drew closer, eager, as if sensing the solidification of his hope. The laughter returned, shrill and excited. With each flick of the locket, the smile twisted steadily into a grimace, an invitation to madness. "You're too late," they chanted. "Join us." Mark dropped the locket, heart racing like a wild bird trapped in a cage. The ground beneath him began to shift, grabbing at his feet as if the very earth wanted to swallow him whole. He could feel the shadows reaching for him, their claws threatening to plunge him into that consuming blackness. "No!" Mark shouted, swinging the dagger wildly. He wouldn't falter. He couldn't give in now. He turned to run, but the storm's fury intensified, rain battering his face like stones. A thrumming pulse resonated in his chest, drawing him back. What if Lisa wasn't gone? What if he could still save her? The idea spiraled in his head. Furious and intoxicating, he gripped the dagger tighter, his breath shallow and frantic. "Jake!" he screamed, forcing himself to remain steady. "I will find you both." But a pair of glowing eyes emerged from the shadows, shimmering like beacons of despair. They pierced through the rain, paralyzing him. Mark's pulse quickened, a singular thought echoing in his mind. This thing, was it Jake? Or had he already joined the wretched? The shadows surged forward, enveloping him in their tendrils, cold and oppressive. Mark fought to breathe, lost in the storm, battling both the fury of nature and the darkness lying in wait. Just as despair threatened to consume him, a glimmer of light broke through the storm. A figure emerged, mirroring the warmth that had drawn him here. "Help us," it whispered, and he felt the full weight of his choice pressing down upon him. Could he trust this being? The shadows tightened their grip, eager to snuff out the fragile hope that flickered in his chest. "Mark," they hissed, "join us." What fresh horror awaited him? The air thickened, demanding his decision as he faced the encroaching darkness. He glanced down, the locket clutched tightly in hand, and his breath hitched. It glowed softly, a scream begging to break free. Would he dare to fight the shadows or join their cruel dance? Mark's grip tightened on the dagger, the metal cold against his clammy palm. Panic clawed at him. The glowing eyes were still locked on his, unblinking alien. His heart thundered in his chest, a primal drumbeat urging him to flee. But where could he run? The looming shadows had drawn a veil around him, and nowhere in this forsaken landscape felt safe. "Help us," the figure whispered again, emerging clearer now, a young woman, drenched but radiating an ethereal glow that seemed to diminish the power of the shadows. "They can't take you, not yet." She stretched a trembling hand towards him, a lifeline amidst the encroaching darkness. "Who are you?" he shouted over the roaring wind. Are you Lisa?" The question lodged in his throat like gravel, then hope mixing with dread. "No, no." She shook her head, tears glistening on her cheeks like falling stars in the night. "I'm someone who got lost, just like you. But we can break free. We just have to." Mark. The shadows twisted, filled with a cacophony of voices, his friends, their haunting cries echoing all around. "Join us, find peace." The ache in his chest spiraled. "Jake," he called, desperation flecking his voice. Would Jake really want him here? Was this all real, or were the shadows toying with his head? "Don't listen," the woman cried, her voice slicing through the chaos. "They're lying. You have to make a choice." The dagger pulsed in his hand, the rhythm syncing with his frantic heartbeat. He could feel it, blood thrumming beneath every surface, as if it too was tied to the earth beneath him. He looked at the locket, still glowing softly, its whispers whispering bitter promises of lost dreams. "What if I can save them?" he wondered aloud, the bitter taste of hope and despair blending on his tongue. The eyes blinked now, one by one, shifting from being menacing to mournful. "You can't save them, Mark," they hissed. "It's too late. You have to join us." "They are already here, in the dark." "No." Mark screamed, clawing at the air as images flashed before him, a cascade of laughter, memories of summer nights under the stars, bones cracking with every step they took through the woods. They were right there, just out of reach, trapped in this dark purgatory. Each plea from their mouths stung like a slap across his face. "I can bring you back," he cried, balance hanging by a thread. But the figure from before surged between him and the shadows, a radiant blade of resolve. "No!" she shouted. "You bring nothing but despair." The shadows recoiled but lingered, coiling in the rain, hissing whispers shooting like arrows through his mind. "Join us, Mark, join us." He dropped to his knees, breathless and disoriented. The weight of the dagger felt heavier than ever as he sank into the earth, roots clawing at him, demanding submission. With harsh breaths ripping from his lungs, he looked to the glowing figure. "What do I do? How do I break this?" But suddenly, she began to fade, dissolving like mist in the storm. "Fight!" she cried as her voice shimmered into nothingness. "It's inside you." An explosion of pain reverberated through his skull. Was it true? Was the fear already feeding on him? He could feel the warmth escape him, the shadows drawing closer, pulling. This was the moment. The pivotal point stood before him, a dark reflection of two choices. He surged upward, shoving the dagger into the soil with a fierce scream. "I will not let you take me. I will not join you." But the ground trembled, shadows shifting like a curtain being pulled back, revealing a yawning abyss beneath. The whispers crescendoed, and now they did not beseech, they demanded. This was only the beginning, a dance of darkness, enticing and malevolent. Would he face it, or would he succumb? Dread flooded his veins, waiting for the inevitable moment of terror about to crash over him. What sinister truth lay buried beneath? The shadows stirred, ready to unveil their deepest secrets. The earth shuddered beneath him, each tremor vibrating through his bones. Mark clenched his jaw, the dagger still buried in the ground, its cold steel a stark contrast to the heat of his panic. The whispers were all around him now, a swirling storm of sorrow and temptation, tugging at the edges of his mind. "Mark, come to us," they lured, voices he recognized, twisted and warped. Jake's laughter mixed with snippets of memories, silly jokes, and midnight conspiracies around the campfire. They were not just shadows anymore. They were something alive, hungry. He shook his head violently. "No! You're not real." His own voice felt distant, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. But with every denial, the shadows grew bolder, moving closer, eager to wrap around him like a vice. "Foolish boy," they hissed, scorn entwined with despair. "You think you can resist? Feel our touch, feel peace." A flicker of movement caught his eye. The glowing figure, the woman, she was struggling against the shadows, desperately reaching out to him. "Mark, don't listen." Her voice echoed, still powerful against the anguish. "The deeper you go, the less you remember." And yet, the darkness beckoned with false promises, the warmth of connection, the joy of friendship, but it was all a lie. He knew that. Mark tore his gaze away, directing his will toward the dagger. Fight. He thought of it as a weapon, a tool not just against the shadows, but against this unbearable loneliness looming over him. With a surge of defiance, he yanked the dagger from the earth. An electric sensation arced through him, firing up his every sense. He felt the pain and sorrow that warmed his heart, the memories flooding back with clarity. They surged with life, vibrant and whole. "I will not let you take me," he shouted again, newfound strength throbbing with every word. "But you're alone," Mark, the whispers pleaded, now tinged with frustration. "What awaits you outside this dark? You don't belong there. Images of the world outside seeped into his thoughts: soft sunrises, laughter echoing through the woods, the peaceful rustle of leaves. He remembered his family waiting for him, the warmth of home. A stubborn determination ignited within his chest. "No!" he cried, and with that, he thrust the dagger forward, stabbing it into the heart of swirling shadows. An explosion of light erupted, blinding him. His breath hitched as warmth surrounded him, pushing back the darkness, illuminating twisted faces that writhed in despair. Briefly, the shadows shrieked, voices mingling in chaotic crescendo. "You'll regret this," they lamented, but he could see the silhouette of the woman breaking through, her face full of fierce hope. As the light radiated out, he felt it, that pull of the familiar, the urge to break free. Was it possible? Could he truly escape? But just as quickly, the shadows coiled tighter, dragging him back, their whispers now urgent. "You have no idea what waits for you outside. You think this curiosity serves you? You'll be lost again, forever lost." The ground below him cratered like quicksand, and the edges of his vision blurred. Panic clawed at him, and he fought hard against the pull. Mark felt floating instead of falling, weightless, as if the world was fraying at the seams. "Trust yourself," a voice echoed through him, the glowing woman lending clarity amidst chaos. His heart raced, a race against time, as uncertainty flooded in. "Who am I outside this darkness?" he shouted, both to the shadows and the woman, desperation spilling forth. "Remember," she implored, reaching toward him. Desperation flooded in. Where was the light? Would he find it, or plunge deeper into shadowy oblivion? As he struggled, the voices resumed their hypnotic chant, mixing terror with a lingering hope. Mark could feel the pull of both sides, edged between light and darkness, teetering on the brink. Was there enough fight in him left to choose? Or had he already lost himself to the unending dark? A deafening roar of shadows surrounding him, as something sharp piercing the periphery clawed at his consciousness. What awaited him there? Would he rise or fall? The moment of silence shattered as the shadows pulled, their icy tendrils wrapping tighter around Mark. He gasped, struggling against the suffocating grasp. The dagger, still glowing, pulsed like a heartbeat in his hand, but the chill of despair sought to drown him. "Fight it!" the glowing woman screamed, her form flickering with determination. "Remember, you're stronger than this." Images thrummed through his mind: a sun-drenched morning with dew on the grass, the smell of fresh coffee wafting from the kitchen, his mother's laughter echoing around family gatherings. He could almost hear it, could almost breathe it in. But those memories blurred, every laugh drowned out by the shadows' taunts. "You'll never be whole again," they sneered, relentless. "No one is waiting for you. You don't belong." Suddenly, the pressure intensified, a crushing wave of darkness pushing against him. Mark felt all strength waning, every ounce of his will disintegrating as he clutched the dagger tighter. A soft voice, echoing from a place of forgotten warmth, broke through his despair, urging him forward. "You have to remember the love, remember the joy." He squeezed his eyes shut, allowing the memories to flood in unabated. Images spun faster now: the annual camping trips with Jake, roasting marshmallows under the vast starlit sky, the comfort of friendship that felt invincible. They felt real again. "No!" Mark bellowed, anguish slicing through the last shrouds of doubt. "You cannot take me." With every ounce of strength, he plunged the dagger deeper into the heart of swirling blackness, as if plunging it into the depths of his own lost self. Light exploded around him, colors brighter than he had ever seen, blistering whites and radiant reds, bursting against the cold despair. For a moment, he felt liberated, the shadows shrieking in absolute rage, their howls disintegrating like soot in the wind. But then reality twisted. The light, though bright, began to dim. The shadows lunged, pulling back, regaining their strength. "You think you can escape?" You're merely a whisper away from becoming ours forever. The ground quaked violently, splitting open, a chasm yawning at his feet. Desperation ignited fresh fears. His heart raced as he approached the edge of the abyss. Was he falling or stepping back? The woman reached out, her eyes blazing like beacons of hope, but the ground under her shimmered, threatening to engulf her too. "Mark!" she yelled, her voice sharp but still filled with warmth. "You can control this. Focus." Sweat dripped from his brow as he felt the crystalline blade tremble in his grip, radiating warmth even amidst the chaos. Taking a deep breath, Mark fixed his gaze back into the swirling darkness. "No! I want to be fodder for your despair!" he howled, the dagger blazing against the encroaching shadows. A howl pierced the air as the shadows lunged, but Mark felt a surge of defiance. He would not let them win. They wanted to consume him, but he could feel something ancient awakening in him, a primordial strength. He steadied himself on the edge of the crumbling ground. "I choose to fight," he shouted, his voice rumbling like thunder, rippling through the chaos. And then he leapt, dagger held high as he dove into the mass of shadows into the unknown. A split-second decision that could be the end or perhaps the beginning. And as he fell, the darkness roared. The ground didn't swallow him. It felt like he was being reborn into something more terrifying, something that might just reveal the truth of what lay beyond. What awaited him at the bottom where shadows twisted and memories collided? Would he find freedom or become a part of the darkness that had haunted him? The whispers grew louder, a cacophony rising to a chilling crescendo as he hurtled downward. What lay beneath this abyss? Would he dare to find out? Mark, tumbling through shadows, felt like falling through time. With every fleeting second, fragments of memories collided around him, laughter ringing in his ears, the warmth of summer as sun, faces he loved waving goodbye, yet beckoning him still. The darkness encased him like a shroud, but within it was a pulsing heartbeat that thrummed with latent possibilities. Freedom. Had he truly transformed into a mere echo lost in the woods? Suddenly, a searing light exploded in front of him, illuminating a shimmering expanse where shadows writhed in torment. He landed softly on an ethereal carpet of phosphorescent moss, surrounded by swirling mists that whispered soft snippets of his life, the sound of Lily's giggle, Jake's playful banter. His heart surged as clarity took form. "Mark!" A soft voice resonated, tender yet powerful. It was Lisa, shimmering like a beacon in the distance. She was trapped in a cocoon of shadows, eyes wide and pleading. A wave of longing surged through him. His family, his heart shattered at the thought of their suffering. He had to save them. "No!" he shouted, renewed determination coursing through him. "I won't abandon you again!" He tightened his grip on the dagger, its steel warmth assuring him that hope was still alive. The shadows surged in response, lashing out like angry serpents, their whispers evolving into a deafening roar, bitter words of doubt, promises of despair. "You cannot escape, Mark. They are ours, as you will be. I want to let you take them," Mark cried, defiance roaring in his chest. With instinct guiding him, he lunged towards Lisa's form, aiming for the shadows wrapping around her. The dagger thrummed with energy, an electric jolt that coursed through him and connected him to the essence of the forest. As he plunged the dagger into the shifting darkness, a blinding flash erupted, momentarily illuminating the chaos. The shadows shrieked sonorously, an anguished cacophony echoing throughout, battling against the radiant glow bursting from his grip. For a fleeting moment, he glimpsed the resentful faces of those long lost to the woods. Each one was another warning, another lost soul fallen prey to despair. "Mark!" Lisa's voice grew clearer. It sliced through the manipulative shroud. "You have the strength. Trust in your love." His heart raced. The warmth of her words settled deep within him, building an invincible armor against the dark, corrupting forces. Focusing solely on Lisa's face, he envisioned their family united, weaving memories of laughter and tenderness, each heartbeat pushing back against the shadows. "Please, take my hand." Her voice was urgent, vibrant with strength. Mark turned, dizzying light swallowing everything, instinct gripping him painfully as he dove once more into the heart of darkness, the dagger piercing the gloom, chipping away at the prison binding her. "Stay with me," he roared, desperation fueling him, and with a mighty thrust, he liberated the darkness around Lisa. In an instant, the shadows writhed violently, splitting like a thick fog bursting under a summer sun. Freedom poured in as Lisa's ethereal light intermingled with the dagger's blaze. The combined force banished the darkness, creating a pathway, a doorway to salvation. Suddenly Jake's voice rang through the air, filled with terror yet punctured by an urgent plea. "Dad! Help!" Mark's heart sank, fueled by both fear and fierce love. He had to act fast, for the abyss could claim them, rip them apart. Digging deep within himself, he felt the urgency swell, merging all his strength into one, drawing on every memory of cherished moments with Jake and Lily. With renewed vigor, he darted toward the shroud looming dreadfully over Jake's presence. "I'm coming, Jake!" Rushing forward, his heart leaping as shadows recoiled, glowing trails bursting forth at his call. That light, the warmth of family, pierced the smothering veil, feeding the dagger's power exponentially. A sacrifice of love poured into the blade as he thrust it forward. The darkness fractured, releasing an anguished wail. In the wake of the blinding light, the mist parted, revealing Jake standing at the edge, his eyes wide. Mark rushed to him, adrenaline spiking as dread drifted away. He grasped Jake's hand and pulled him close, relief flooding every fiber of his being. "Dad!" Jake gasped, his voice trembling yet resolute. "I thought I'd lost you." "Never," Mark vowed, pulling them closer into the burgeoning light. The shadows lurked behind them, writhing, but they felt bound together, intertwining hope and strength. "What about Lily?" Jake's voice trembled, cutting through the stark realization of vulnerability. As if summoned by their love, Lily's giggle echoed sweetly in the air, lighter than the shadows, like a gentle breeze through the trees. The dagger pulsed one last time. Shadows screamed, desperate to cling to every soul engulfed in despair, but it wasn't enough. "I'm here!" Lily exclaimed, shimmering into view, a golden aura enfolding her small form. The moment the three reunited, an electric pulse surged through the air. Love and conviction became a force against the binds holding them. In a cacophony of light and shadows, they cried out together, "No more!" A surge of powerful love exploded, and in that fateful union, the remnants of shadows shrieked, unable to sustain their hold against the brilliance. One final burst of light engulfed them all, expelling the dark remnants into nothingness. As the storm overhead calmed, the forest felt strangely vibrant. Colors emerged anew as the woods sighed. They found themselves on the ridge, the dawning sun peeking over the horizon, washing everything in a soft, golden glow. "What happened?" Jake's voice broke through the silence, trembling. With a smile that felt lighter than the air, Mark pulled them all into a comforting embrace. "We fought together." As the birds chirped and the world began to breathe, they wandered deeper into the heart of the forest, shadows replaced by warm whispers of sunlight. Together they made their way back, memories etched in their hearts. And as they emerged from the woods, they cast one last glance behind them, where the weight of darkness faded, unraveling into threads of hope. The Johnson family had faced their fears, and though the shadows had tried to claim them, love had always been their strongest weapon. "Let us promise never to return to the woods," Lily said, eyes sparkling with innocence, and they all agreed, voices mingling in fervent harmony. As they strolled slowly toward the comforting warmth of home, each step illuminated by the indomitable power of love. Anew the whispers of the past stayed behind, while new laughter surged forth, The woods may have held secrets, but they would never again walk among dread. Make haste, friends. If you enjoyed this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe now. Don't let the darkness catch you off guard. Smash that like button to help spread the light. Flood the comments with your thoughts, theories, and feelings. I want to know how you reacted to this wild ride. And don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see just how powerful love can be against the shadows.